Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Wednesday, October 16. If you're watching live on Wednesday, October 16, we encourage you to call in if you have comments or questions. Our call-in number is 769-1677. As always, you can watch us live on Verizon or Optimum Cable TV. And you can pick up within a few days an on-demand webcast of this meeting and past meetings at pctv76.org. We're meeting today on a Wednesday off our regular schedule because of the various holidays this month, but we are back to our regular meeting schedule next for our next meeting, which is Monday, October 28. Had a couple of announcements to make, and the first is there was really quite an extraordinary event here in the Village of Pleasantville this past weekend. The Westchester Table Tennis Club, which is on Tompkins Avenue, many of you know it, run by Will Shorts, who is well known in the crossword puzzle world for his role as the New York Times crossword puzzle editor, but also well known in the table tennis world. That club hosted the first ever World Parkinson's Table Tennis Tournament for folks that have struggled with Parkinson's disease. It turns out that a group of people who are affected by Parkinson's have been playing every Wednesday at the Westchester Club here in Pleasantville, and there is reason to believe that for some people at least, playing table tennis is the kind of activity that actually gets your synapses firing in ways that can ameliorate the conditions that people face with Parkinson's. So this group has been going on for some period of time. The International Table Tennis Federation sanctioned this as a sanctioned event. And this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there were quite a few players representing 12 different countries, including the judges. 20 countries were represented with a tournament that took place here over 3 days. So Shane and I went over and we videotaped some of it and interviewed a number of people. That'll be up at pctv76.org. But a shout out to all the folks over at the Table Tennis Center for not only this great program they've been running for some period of time, but pulling together what was just a really fabulous event. Not only a great and good-spirited event, but a great competition. They had folks divided into divisions depending on the degree of the degree to which they're affected by Parkinson's, but really a really interesting time and a great opportunity for folks to exercise their minds in ways that turn out, according to some, to be very beneficial. So really a great event. A couple of things to report coming up soon. We have a coyote information session. You want to report that?
Yes, we do. That's going to be on the 30th of October at 7 p.m. At the Clinton Street Center. And it's going to be someone from the Wolf Conservation Center talking to us about coyotes and ecology and how to safely coexist with coyotes. Should be good.
So that follows up. We had two different seminars last fall, and those I think are still available at pctv76.org, as will this one, so that if you're interested in the subject or see coyotes in your neighborhood, I think those two that were done a year ago are worth watching, and certainly this one is a great opportunity to visit or catch up later on TV. Well, you have the mic.
Sure.
Talk about
another exciting piece of news is that we have been certified as a bronze level climate smart community. That's part of a much larger program designed to reduce greenhouse gases and to do our part to address climate change. There's a climate smart committee that has been led by graduate students from Pace University, notably Andrew Welch and Ali Granger, who have done a lot of work. And it's a very sort of painstaking process of first evaluating what our emissions are for the village and ways in which those can be ameliorated. So we were among a number of communities that were recognized by the governor. Let's see, how many does he say? 16 governments that were recognized by the government as, by the governor as getting us climate smart certification. So it shows that there's a movement across New York. And the next phase of the process for this committee will be looking at ways in which we can further reduce our carbon footprint.
Thank you. Great stuff. Really
Yeah.
shout out to the folks who already commented. A great progress for us. In a related vein, just want to report that the county operates a household material recovery facility that's at 15 Woods Road in Valhalla. In recent years, it's been only open a few days a week, and it has now been changed so that it is open 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., accepting a wide array of household wastes that are not typically collected curbside. In addition to properly labeled household chemicals and other special wastes found in a typical household, residents can bring documents for shredding and expired or unwanted medications for disposal on the first Tuesday of each month. So general collections Tuesday through Saturday 10 to 3, and those specific items on the first Tuesday of each month. So you can go to the county website, westchestergov.com, and search in there for the household material recovery site and get more information about that. Rainy and foul night tonight, which is a reminder that we're in a season where we sometimes have unsettled weather. All the more reason to get yourself to pleasantville-ny.gov and sign up in the left-hand column for our Code Red emergency alert system, and also for news in general. There are two different signups for the two different things. The Code Red is a system we would only use in severe weather conditions. It's a great means of being able to reach all of our residents in a circumstance where people may be out of power, or you've left your home and are living with someone else. Because of the loss of power, whatever, we went through quite a bit of trouble trying to keep in touch with people during the Superstorm Sandy aftermath. And so I encourage you to sign up both for Code Red, and while you're at it, sign up for Pleasantville News and check off the items you're interested in getting, and we will be happy to send you emails to that effect. Noreen is our marketing agent.
On behalf of the Pleasantville Recycles Committee. We started sales for the recycling kits. They're $25. You can buy them here at Village Hall Monday to Friday, or send in a check for $25 and we will deliver them to your home. We've already done that for about 5 residents. The kit contains 2 sizes. The first one is your countertop. This one comes with the starter kit or starter roll of the compostable bag. So it's suggested that you do a liner on your countertop, and then during the week take those bags, put it into the large toter, and then take the toter to our yard on Saturdays from 9 to 3 p.m. and you'll be able to empty your food waste. Full details are on the PleasantvilleRecycles.org website. You can compost much more material in this program than you would in a household compost pile in your backyard, such as bones and meat products. That's because
Paper towels too, I think, right?
Paper towels.
Yep.
It goes to a commercial compost pile, and they keep it at a higher temperature, so it allows for much more to go into that pile. We're going on our 3rd Saturday of accepting the material. Supposedly they doubled this Saturday what they took last Saturday. So we're encouraging residents to sign up. You do not have to buy the kit to participate. You may have your own containers at home, and certainly you could just bring those containers, put it right into our totes down at the recycle yard. But once again, we do not ask for any plastic to go into it, because once again, we can't contaminate the stream that we're then having picked up.
So if you collect them without buying the kit, you need to buy compostable bags.
If you bag.
Right.
There are some people who are just going to go straight into a container. We do have a hose down at the yard if you want to rinse out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do a liner, it has to be compostable bag. Some people do have paper as well.
And you leave that one and you take another one home? Is that what the
No,
toter?
this
Take the toter down, you
to
keep the
market
toter.
to market.
Okay, got it.
So it's a great opportunity to reduce the,
And we've already sold, as of today, 55 kits.
Oh, great.
That's great.
So the village purchased a total of 300 to get the program going. So once again, Village Hall, Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, you'll walk out with the kit. If you mail in the check, we'll drop it off at your front door.
And that's one of the ways we'll reduce our carbon footprint too, because our trash gets incinerated. And so if you have a lot of moisture, it's a lot more difficult to do. Whereas this way, it turns into compost that can be returned to the soil. And the soil is in fact where a lot of our carbon gets sequestered.
And then this past week as well, PCTV did a segment
Oh, great.
on what would Helen compost?
What would Helen do?
Oh,
Helen,
terrific.
WWHD, what would Helen do? Helen Muir of our Conservation Advisory.
Is that going to be a
Committee.
series?
It is.
That's a great
Terrific.
idea.
Isn't that great?
So maybe I can add in quickly here. We are trying to expand our communications, our village communications. We know we haven't been perfect about that in the past, and we're trying to be better and better at getting the word out about different initiatives and different things going on. So we have a newsletter that will be coming out shortly that's going to be called Pleasantville Posts. And it will be available electronically on our website through the Facebook page. And there will be a few paper copies as well for those who really prefer it that way, that will be available at the library, at the senior center, at Village Hall.
So that's great. Thank you for that. We encourage everybody to sign up for the Food Scraps program. And again, you bring the stuff down to the recycling center at our DPW yard only on Saturdays, not weekdays, 9 to 3, right? So our recycling center is open Saturdays, 9 to 3. We are not in a position to be having folks delivering recycling or food scraps during the week. At the moment, it's Saturday, 9 to 3, and when you get down there, you'll see some changes have been made in the traffic flow to facilitate this. All right, the last thing I wanted to mention, back to our friends at PCTV, two things to be said. One is, as I think those of you who watch regularly are aware, PCTV used to be at Jackson Alley downtown and has relocated now to a brand new studio in the former Lake Street Pump House, the village property on Lake Street on the right-hand side as you head up towards the pool. So a really nice new studio and a green screen, which gives the opportunity to do all kinds of amusing things. Shane can place you in almost any setting you might want to go. But one useful moment was that our county executive, George Latimer, came to PCTV, and that interview is up at pctv76.org. So we encourage you to take a look at that. County Executive Latimer speaking right here in Pleasantville, New York. So, anything else? All right, the last thing I wanted to mention before we go on to our resolutions is we met in work session with the folks from our pedestrian committee. They've been working on a whole bunch of different things, but one of the things they're working on is a map that, among other things, identifies where sidewalks exist and crosswalks. They're working on a variety of pieces of information that might get folded into that, and have worked with the village, our DPW folks, and are also talking to the school district about ways in which we can encourage families and kids to walk to school and to walk around town. So more on that later, but a shout out to Carrie Roberts and the entire crew in the pedestrian committee. They really have been doing good stuff, and that's just one of a number of initiatives that they are working on. So, any comment of any sort from the public? 769-1677. We're lonely. All right, with that, to the resolutions, number 244. Nicole.
Whereas introductory local law 7 of 2019 has been introduced as the Village of Pleasantville seeks to provide basic and uniform standards governing the maintenance, appearance, and condition of all buildings and properties within the village to promote the economic well-being of the village and ensure the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville shall hold a public hearing concerning introductory local law 7 of 2019 on November 14th, 2019 at 8 p.m. at Village Hall, 80 Wheeler Avenue, Pleasantville, New York, to consider the proposed local law. And the law under consideration is attached.
Is there a second?
Second?
So this is, just as described, just an effort to sharpen up our capacity to respond when we have a circumstance when maintenance of a property, particularly a property that's vacant, is causing a public hazard or the like. And we've been in conversation with Robert Hughes, our building inspector, about the tools that might be useful, and also with Keenan Bean, our village attorneys. Anything to add to that?
Just the public hearing is not the next board meeting, but the meeting after, to allow time for us to notice it properly.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 245, Steve.
Whereas introductory local law 8 of 2019 has been introduced to amend chapter 98, section 19 of the Code of the Village of Pleasantville, and whereas the purpose of this section is to provide for the safety, health, protection, and general welfare of persons and property in the Village of Pleasantville by requiring that such unsafe buildings be secured, repaired, or demolished and removed. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville shall hold a public hearing concerning introductory local law 8 of 2019 on November 14th, 2019 at 8 p.m. at Village Hall, 80 Wheeler Avenue, Pleasantville, New York, to consider the proposed local law, and with the as with the prior resolution, the actual law itself and memorandum from council is attached to the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Just the second piece of the same initiative.
Correct. This is existing village code. It's strengthening a bit and adding due process, which current
Right,
village
which is
code
lacking.
lacked and is not up to standards. So.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 246, David.
Okay. Whereas the village had previously proposed to construct the Manville Road Corridor Improvement and Civic Space Project consisting of pedestrian enhancements along Manville Road to be partially funded by a federal grant administered by the New York State Department of Transportation and the creation of a civic space pocket park at the intersection of Memorial Plaza and Manville Road, the proposed action. And whereas on October 23, 2017, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville, pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, declared their intent to be lead agency with respect to the proposed action. And whereas the notice of intent to declare lead agency and the full environmental assessment form part 1 were circulated to all involved agencies with no objection. And whereas the proposed action was classified as an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, and the Village Board of Trustees formally declared itself lead agency with respect to the proposed action. And whereas the Village Board of Trustees reviewed various analyses, information, and documents relating to its determination of environmental significance under SECRA, and whereas the duly advertised public hearings were held on January 14th, January 28th, February 11th, and February 25th of the year 2019, and formally closed, and whereas on March 11th, 2019, the Village Board adopted a negative determination of significance under SECRA with respect to the proposed action, and whereas based on a review undertaken by the New York State Department of Transportation, in conjunction with a grant received from New York State, it was determined that the intersection at Manville Road and Wheeler Avenue was not compliant with New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, and that certain revisions needed to be made to the proposed action to address conditions related to the Manville Road corridor with respect to the intersection located at Manville Road and Wheeler Avenue. And whereas it was determined that the most feasible and appropriate course of action to bring the intersection into compliance with New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law was to remove the traffic signal at Manville Road and Wheeler Avenue and make certain modifications to the intersection, the amended proposed action. And whereas the revised full environmental assessment form part 1 and other information describing the amended proposed action was circulated to all interested agencies and no comments or objections were received. And whereas the village's traffic engineers, HVEA, have reviewed the amended proposed action and have determined that the modifications proposed will not have a significant adverse impact on traffic or safety conditions, now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby adopts the annexed negative declaration of environmental significance pursuant to SECRA as set forth in the EAF Part 3 for the reasons stated therein, having determined that the Manville Road Corridor Improvement and Civic Space projects as modified will not result in any potential significant adverse environmental impacts, thus no environmental impact statement, EIS, needs to be prepared, and the SECRA review of the amended proposed action is hereby complete with many attachments.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this is largely focusing on the fact that we are changing the program to incorporate this change at the traffic light.
Correct. DOT in their review process had identified the double traffic light setup, specifically the traffic light at Wheeler Avenue and Manville Road was not up to standard, was not up to New York State traffic and vehicle laws. So they essentially mandated that the village remediate the issue. And
Their light on their
Their
street.
light on their street, but it's our problem.
correct.
Thank you, New York State.
Correct.
And they think this basically says that by removing that one light and rejiggering, as we've talked about, the crosswalks and all that stuff, it meets that standard.
Correct. So we're going to remove that light and the crosswalk that goes from the Dunkin' Donuts Wheeler Avenue parking lot across Manville Road. That will also be removed because it does not meet standard.
And the crosswalk that goes between iFetish Optique and Dunkin' Donuts will remain.
Correct.
It's the second one, the one that
Right.
goes from the Pocket Park to the parking lot that
Correct.
would go away.
Correct.
So, all right, any further comment or question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 247, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to submit an amended application for CDBG funding through Westchester County for the placement of an emergency standby generator at the Clinton Street Center for a total estimated project expense of $140,000. Further resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes commitment from the village of 50% of expenses, with the A-Home contributing up to $35,000 of the project cost.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this should be revised, instead of referring to A-Home is the Affordable Housing Agency here in Pleasantville. That is the manager of our senior housing project, but the owner is Pleasantville Housing Development Fund Corporation, PHDFC. So we should substitute that to say 50% expenses with the Pleasantville Housing Development Fund Corporation contributing up to $35,000. Is that acceptable to the mover and seconder?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion
Aye.
approved. 248, Steve.
Hold on, it's going in. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hiring of Ernesto Hernandez as a part-time food service worker, job code 0305, and a part-time bus driver, job code 0204, at the hourly rate of $15, effective October 17, 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
That's a budgeted position. Welcome Ernesto Hernandez, all in
Welcome
favor?
aboard. Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
motion approved. 249, David.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the meeting held on September 23rd, 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or corrections to the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 250, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the agreement with Student Assistance Services Corporation to provide services in support of the Village of Pleasantville Strong Community Coalition Drug-Free Communities Grant for a fee not to exceed $46,928 for the period of September 30th, 2019 to September 29th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
So the village is the fiscal agent for the federal grant that funds all of this. And we are in essence a conduit for federal monies. This is not village money being spent.
Correct.
Comments, questions? Student Assistance Services has been a great anchor for the village and for the school district in many ways, as has Nicole Malgarinos, who's the coordinator of the coalition here. Good work being done. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
51.
51.
Whereas Pleasantville Strong, Safe Teens, Real Opportunities, New Goals is a federally funded drug-free community, federally funded drug-free community coalition with the Village of Pleasantville, whose mission is to reduce underage drinking, drug use, and other unhealthy behaviors by our youth within our community. And whereas Red Ribbon Week is nationally recognized and celebrated as a symbol of support for efforts to reduce drug use through youth prevention and education programs, now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from Pleasantville Strong. I think it should say two-place, right? Two-place red ribbons on trees, light poles, and the village gazebo in the business district in conjunction with their ribbon campaign beginning October 23rd through October 31st, 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
So are these ribbons have some sort of legend on them so people know what they are?
I believe so. She was just ordering it
Yeah,
this week, but
yeah.
it's a national program. They
Okay.
did it last year as well,
Yeah.
the Red Ribbon Week, and then they promote it in the schools as well.
Great. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
As I blow my nose. Sorry.
Motion approved. Thank you, Pleasantville Strong. David, 252.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the Recreation Department to hold the annual Ragamuffin Parade on Bedford Road and Harvest Day in Memorial Plaza on Saturday, October 26, 2019 at 11 a.m. with a rain date scheduled for Sunday, October 27, 2019 at 1 p.m. and further authorizes the police chief to post no parking signs in the Memorial Plaza parking lot in advance of the event and to tow all vehicles in violation of this temporary parking restriction.
Is there a second?
Second.
One of the great Pleasantville days of the year, the Ragamuffin Parade, Saturday, October 26th, 11 a.m. And this year, having gotten caught having to quickly revise plans when it rained, we have a rain date of Sunday, the day after, at 1 p.m. It's at 1 instead of 11 because we are trying to avoid conflict with the various church services that are going on Sunday morning. So that said, it's not going to rain.
Okay, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved. 253, Nicole.
Whereas there are presently pending before the New York State Supreme Court County of Westchester tax certiorari proceedings titled, what is MTR short for?
Matter.
Matter? Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Matter of BEJ LLC v. Village of Pleasantville, et al., etc. And whereas these proceedings challenge the real property tax assessments of adjoining parcels located at 418 Bedford Road and 23 Clinton Street in the Village of Pleasantville, and then it identifies as Section 101.6 Block 5 Lot 23 and Section 101.6 Block 5 Lot 33 on the tax map of the Village of Pleasantville. And whereas these proceedings challenge the assessments of Lot 23 and Lot 33 established by the Village of Pleasantville in assessment years 2017 and 2018, and whereas proposed terms of settlement have been reached providing for a disposition of the claims asserted in these proceedings, and whereas the Village Board of Trustees has obtained the advice and assistance of its counsel, Keenan Bean, PC, with respect to the proposed terms of settlement and duly considered same, and whereas pursuant to these terms of settlement, the 2017 and 2018 assessments of Lot 33 will be sustained, and whereas pursuant to these terms of settlement, the 2017 and 2018 assessments of Lot 23 will be reduced, thereby giving rise to village tax refunds. And whereas as a result of the 2017 and 2018 assessment reductions for Lot 23, a Village of Pleasantville tax refund will be due in an amount equaling approximately $3,387 and 67 cents, $67. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees authorizes the settlement of these proceedings so as to adjust the annual village assessments for Lot 23 for assessment years 2017 and 2018. From an assessment of $165,550 to a revised assessment of $150,500. That's a reduction of $15,050. And a similar reduction from the same amount to $144,000 for a total refund of $3,387.67. Be it further resolved that the village administration and Keenan Bean, as attorneys for the Village of Pleasantville, are hereby authorized to take the steps necessary to effectuate these terms, including execution and entry of a consent judgment and the payment of any and all refunds required under the above authorized terms of settlement.
Is there a second?
Second.
So appended to that is our memo from council describing the negotiations and the basis upon which our attorney and assessor believe this is an appropriate resolution. Comments or questions?
Concur.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 254, Steve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments as listed below. From the general fund, $10,586 from garage repair and maintenance to transfer to capital sidewalks, $4,000 from the contingency line to engineering services, $4,898 also from contingent over to transfer to capital Manville Road. From the water fund, $46,500 from the water transmission distribution outside service account to the water transmission distribution equipment account. And from the capital fund, $4,898 from interfund transfer from general fund. These will mirror the ones I read earlier, to the expenditure account, Manville Road Improvements Village Funds, and $10,586 interfund transfer from general fund to the capital sidewalk project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
Pretty straightforward. Yeah.
The water fund, 46,500.
Yeah, that was for repairs to the Apple Hill water pit that had sustained flood damage.
So it was budgeted, but once the project came to light, it's better suited in the equipment line. So that's
Okay.
why we're
Right.
moving it, but it was in the budget.
Understood.
That's
But
good
just
to
so that it's tracked as a fixed asset.
As opposed to
Okay.
like repairs and
Uh-huh.
maintenance.
It's an
Yeah,
Right, where
it's
you'd
an
lose it.
expensive amount of outside service because it's so much programming of the SCADA system.
Yes,
Oh,
But we
okay.
need to reflect the value on our fixed assets, so it's being moved to the 200 line.
understood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 255, David.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the abstract for payment of claims dated October 16, 2019 for fiscal year 2020 covering check numbers 94850 to 95079 as listed below. From the general fund, $374,533.37. From the water fund, $173,130.97. From the capital fund, $12,198.98. From the refuse fund, $27,452.78. From the trust fund, $6,100 for a total of $593,416.10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on credit card fees, payment of claims, and the one void? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
approved. 256, Nicole.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from the police chief to attend the International Association of Chiefs of Police conference in Chicago from October 26th through October 29th at an amount not to exceed $2,500.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Appreciate Chief Gutzner attending. 257,
Me.
Steve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request submitted by Falafel Taco, 30 Wheeler Avenue, to waive the 30-day waiting period required for a class change associated with an existing New York State liquor license with the backup material attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's a beer, wine, and cider license, not a full
Okay.
bar.
Right.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. That was the end of our regular resolutions. Is there any new business? Any comment from the public? With that, we will sign off. Thank you for your attention. A shout out again to the folks on our pedestrian committee. Stay tuned. You'll hear more about some of their initiatives shortly, and we'll see you in a week and a half on Monday, October 28.